Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of the never-ending engine install videos. In this video, I think we are actually at a point now where the car might be able to run. At the end of this video, we're going to see if it'll start, check for leaks, stuff like that. There's still a few small things to do. We have to do the exhaust, oil, gearbox oil, engine oil. We have to do a little bit of wiring, a few hoses, and transfer the old fan onto the new radiator. Whole bunch of small things. I hope that's all. That should be all that's needed. There's a bit of ECU work. I have to check that the tune is still on the ECU. Whole bunch of small things. I'm hoping we can get it all done so we can get this car started today, see if it needs anything else once it's started. And then also, I'm quite excited for this car to run again. It's been like 6 months since the last time this car's moved. So let me show you guys what's going on now. But everything else is basically on. All the earths are on, turbo's on. New setup. I think it's much better than before. Before, the turbo used to point this way and you had a pipe going all the way that way. Now it goes straight down from the turbo and then out and around to the intercooler, and from this side straight back in, comes up here and straight to the throttle body. Okay, in my infinite wisdom, I forgot to put the shifter linkage on, so now I have to basically do it under the car. If I did this while the gearbox was outside the car, it would be way easier. Because this crocodile pin thing that goes in here is really difficult to get in there, and you have to like hammer it in. So this is not going to be fun. The other problem is this jack doesn't jack up very high, so you can only get a trestle under the car, or a jack stand under the car at its lowest setting, which is that setting, not this one. So there's not much space under there to work, and now I have to connect this bloody shifter linkage still. But other than that, I think someone actually fixed this up. As you can see, this was grinded down, and it's actually very sturdy. Normally these things start getting a lot of play in all these joints, but this one is I think they changed the bushings on it or something, because it's very sturdy. So that's good. It will be less slop in the shifter. Other thing, we still have to do the exhaust, but I'm going to heat wrap it first. I did wire brush it just to get most of the surface rust off, but I'm going to heat wrap it just so it looks better, because we are going to have to hide that. Okay, so we're filling the gearbox now. I got this spare shop liquid gold. This is not the exact oil weight that the manual says we should use, but it's the closest I could find. So, you know, it's in the ballpark, and it's very cheap. So that's good. It's not like we're going to abuse this gearbox or anything. I did also smash half my nail off trying to get the filling bolt out. Next, we're doing oil. I have some Petronas 20W50. It is a thicker oil, but this is just for run-in, because I'm going to have to probably do a couple miles and then just drain all this stuff out again and then put in something else. Now, I have run this oil before without any issues. It should be a credible name, but this is definitely very cheap oil. But yeah, this is just for run-in. The other problem I also have is I do not know where this car's dipstick is. So I stole one from my D18, but I'm not sure if it's long enough. So I'm just going to fill it according to how much oil the car is supposed to take. And then from there, I'll maybe just add a little bit extra, just because we know that the engine is going to be doing something it was never intended to do from the factory. Also, I am using the thicker 2050 weight, and that is just because, in my opinion, if the oil is thicker, you will have higher oil pressure, because it's more difficult for the oil to actually push past all the areas where it can come out, like the bearings and the cam and so on. So that's why I'm using a thicker oil. The last thing we have to do now, I just put the exhaust on there temporary because I want to start it now, just test it. I'm just going to put the radiator in. And as I showed you guys before, we have this brand new one. It's from a SR4, which is basically just an EG automatic. So it has this transfer automatic, but the good thing is it's much thicker than the normal one. But we now have to transfer the fan from this one. We have to transfer the fan over to the new one. Now I did test fit it, and the best place for the fan is basically up in this corner because the exhaust is in this area. And this is the radiator was in there, very thin. It's like 14 millimeters thick, and it had a leak. Yeah, down here you can see. So I think they damaged it when they put these bolts in. This is not exactly the way to do it. So yeah, I'm going to take this off, this fan off, and then bolt it onto this one. I did actually get a kit. Got this kit from AliExpress. It comes with these square zip ties. So this holds the fan onto the radiator without using those bolts. You basically use these. It's basically a zip tie, and you have these caps, and then you have a spring. I think the spring is for this side, for the back, just to keep the fan basically on pressure all the time without actually tightening something onto the radiator, because this is very soft, so you can easily damage it. So here's the old radiator, and they basically use double-sided tape, piece of plastic, and this bolt to literally bolt these things through the radiator. Now obviously this part of the radiator is just cooling fins, and the tube part is a water jacket. And this is one that was leaking. Not sure if it was leaking since they did this mod, or maybe because of the vibrations it started leaking over here. Which is why, that's not the way to do it though, which is why I got this. So here's the new radiator for automatic, brand new, just a normal spare shop replacement, and as you can see it's much thicker than the other one. This one is actually, I think, 24 millimeters wide, where the other one is only 14 millimeters wide. So I'll quickly do a side by side. Okay guys, so here is a quick side by side comparison. Here's the old one. As you can see, it's very thin, 14 millimeters. Here's the replacement one. I believe this one is 24 millimeters. Otherwise it's exactly the same, just the cheap spare shop replacement. But if this one managed to keep the car cool, then this is definitely a upgrade. Okay, so we have the slim fan, cleaned it up a bit. Doesn't look like the worst quality thing you can buy. I've seen some of them with straight fins. This one at least have like the curved fins and this outer support. However, I do know this thing doesn't move as much air as a stock fan. A stock fan moves way more air than this thing. They did join these wires here, so I am going to buy new plugs like this, and then just cut it off over here and connect the pins directly to the plug, and basically a new plug that's repinned, just so there's no joins in the wire, because I mean these wires are quite a lot thinner than these wires, and you don't exactly want thin wires on your fan, because this thing, according to the sticker, uses 80 watts. So that could be why it's turning so slow. Maybe these much thinner wires is restricting the amount of current it can get. Not exactly sure, but I will redo this. Okay, so in the kit you get 8 of these little foam pads, and then 4 springs, and this plastic zip tie. So obviously the zip tie will go through the radiator and then into this, and then somehow, somewhere, you have to use okay, so these actually do sit a little bit away from the radiator. It doesn't touch, so it makes space for the little foam pads. Also, you don't want the radiator not to touch on this edge, because if it doesn't, it could just suck air in here and out the fan instead of sucking it through the radiator. So having this edge of the fan touch is, in my opinion, important, especially if you're running a fan that's not exactly the most efficient fan or the most powerful fan. I'm going to stick these little foam pads onto these, because this is what's going in the front, and you don't want this to sit on the radiator itself. You want the foam in between the two. Okay, so now we have the little foam pads stuck on so these are the round ones that's going to go on the front. Stuck little foam pads on here. Same with this that's going at the back. These are the only 2 parts that's going to touch the radiator in terms of mounting it. Now these are like zip ties, so it's kind of you have a one chance. If you mess it up, you're going to have to get a new set. So what I've decided to do is put the little spring on this part and just poke this section through the radiator, and then cap it with this on the other side. That was kind of easy. Okay, so we have it poked through the radiator. What I'm now going to do is just push it all the way through. I'm sure this will be much easier if you have some help. Okay, so I have it flipped around, and I have these little zip ties poking out, and this is like the end of a zip tie, so these just go on here, I think. They have the little foam pad on them. Okay, and that's it. I guess now you can decide how much you want to compress this spring. So you can see there's the little spring, and obviously the tighter you make it on this side, the more you will compress the spring. Then once you think you're done, you can cut these off. I think I'm going to leave just a small little tab here, so that if I later on decide to actually tighten these some more, that I have something to grab onto with the plier, so I can just tighten it even more, because you don't know what's going to happen to these foam pads after a few heat cycles. So. But cut the rest of it off, so there's a small little tab in case I need to tighten it later on. Okay, here's the finished result. yeah, I'm not sure how you should do it, but you know, they do give you everything you need to make it work. I use the back of the zip tie to push the spring onto the mounting foot, and then I put the little foam pad on the radiator there. On the other side you just have these 4 round tabs, and they also have the little foam pad behind them. You can also see the fan sits up very close to the radiator, so you won't have any air just being sucked from the back through the fan. The air should come all through the radiator. Hey guys, okay, so we did run into a few small issues. It's actually now the next day. The battery that was in the car, it doesn't hold enough voltage anymore to actually crank the car. So I can turn it on, turn on the ignition. I tested the ECU, stuff like that. So everything looks like it's fine, but the battery doesn't hold any voltage anymore. So I tried to put the battery from my other car in. That doesn't work either because the terminals are on the other side, so the cables actually doesn't reach when I put it in there. So I'm going to have to buy some jumper cables for now, just so we can jump the car. So I'm going to go do that. The other problem is a bit more serious. The water pump is leaking. So as soon as you put coolant in it, it just starts running out immediately. Someone did actually call it in the comments, said if the water pump sits around for a bit, the seal might fail. And they were right, the seal did fail. So that's not going to stop me from starting the car. I can still start the car, just not run it for very long. We can maybe run it for 1 minute. And then just turn it off again. But I mean, I don't think I need more than that. I just want to see if the car actually starts, see if everything works, you know, no funny noises, oil pressure, stuff like that. See if there's any serious leaks, and well, we found the leak already. So yeah, that's gonna put a hamper on some things for now. I'm gonna call the video here just because I did film a bit more than I thought I would need to film for this video. So yeah, I'm gonna call it here. Then I'm gonna get jumpers, get the pump. We're gonna start the car before changing the pump just to see if it runs. Then we'll change the water pump and get the rest of everything done. Anyway, thanks for watching. Comment down below your thoughts, and yeah, thanks for the support. See you on the next one.